Not a drop of all the tensions, the pains, the struggles we are going through is in vain. It's accumulating something beautiful. And once we are through it and see what it has done, then we may look back and think, great, I went through all this. Hello, Lutz.
Hello, Werner. Yeah, I'm in a quite difficult phase of my life. I'm quite shaken. In order to make something good of it, I would call it the opening of the heart by breaking it. Recently, my brother died,
Yes.
and in the last weeks of his life, we mysteriously opened very much up to each other, and it was a very loving relationship,
Yeah.
just for some weeks, basically.
Right.
The best, the closest relationship I ever had with him, the most loving brotherly time I had with him in the last weeks of his life.
Yes.
And also, I met him before I visited him, and after my visit, he died.
Yes.
So it was a great opening of my heart, and at the same time, he left. He was gone, and in a way, he was also still there.
Yeah.
And it started to kind of open up some kind of Pandora box of pain and sadness, and yeah, it kind of took, basically put me off center. It kind of created something that I'm confused now. I'm not really clear, although I'm telling myself, just watch these things happening and so, but it's actually bullshit. I'm crying often, and I feel that I cannot make clear thoughts, and I also have the feeling that some of his confusion has come into me. I also organized the funeral, and I held a speech and put him into the earth, the urn and everything. And I have also a feeling that this whole thing, I was very open, and somehow some kind of energies floating around there, and somehow my relationship with my brother, everything, there's something came in which confused me. And it's still there. It's still not. It's still not over. And I'm really sometimes a little bit on my knees. I feel that I cannot manage by myself. That somehow it is very helpful for me if I invite some friends or be with some friends who are completely out of this situation and are just normal people, or attending your satsang right now. I feel a little bit, some little spark of distance from all these things has flashed up when I kind of join into the satsang. It's just a completely different energy field from my kind of stormy, churned up pain cloud, or you want to call it. So I'm patting myself on the back, that it is all just a process to kind of open my heart and let things out there, and everything will be good after a while, and blah blah blah. But at the moment, I'm in the middle of it. So what would be your main advice?
My main advice first is accept that it is as it is. Because if you are making it harder by thinking it shouldn't be like this, then it's getting worse. Then you are spending a lot of energy fighting against the fact that your experience is as it is. And on the other side, what you are doing is great. That you say, okay, it's a process. Something is happening. It's not necessarily pleasant what is happening, but at least something is happening. Part of a purification process, that it's journeying. And if you are not resisting against it so much, it's less painful. It's still, the pain will sometime come. Somehow a certain amount of pain we just cannot avoid. And so it's better to embrace it than trying to push it away. It's just a postponement, and maybe it's getting worse after that. But continue doing what you have been doing since a long time. Connect with that something solid in you. Even if this is happening, even if there is that churning stuff going on, there's something in you, an aspect that is not affected by it. It is like a rock. It's simply there. And all this is like the waters of destiny that flows around it and flows, bangs against it and flows this side and that side. But something in you is not affected by that. Just remind yourself again and again, connect with that. And then, even if the attention is sucked again and again on levels that are stormy, that are sometimes painful, that awareness is growing, but it's not so much of a big deal, because actually there is that aspect that is not affected. And bring the attention back to that again and relax in that.
Yeah, the problem is that the whole thing is this kind of feeling bubble, which is very much connected with my heart. It blocks that connection with that which is beyond, and I have also I'm really losing it. That's all I can say. I mean, I'm in the deepest sense, I know I cannot get lost.
Yes.
And there is some kind of sense that there's something beyond it all which is watching it and which is not affected. But
Right.
that is so faint, that goes so much in the background. Of course, there's nothing left for me to do of trying to connect with that which is beyond all that. But it's the situation itself brings me away from it and kind of sabotages also my at easeness, my being relaxed and just watching what's happening. It's just too intense to do that.
Right. And you called it your emotional bubble. It's like standing in between, that you don't feel that connection.
Yeah.
In your mental makeup, somehow that connection is to something beyond, something out there somewhere.
Well, it's I mean, in with the language, it's it's difficult to describe because it's actually it's not somewhere, it's always here. So
Right.
it's not somewhere, but this awareness of just being here, it gets somehow disturbed.
Right.
I feel it yeah.
Sure it does. And periods like this can happen. And then I still say, as good as you can. Don't just give up on it, on attempting to consciously connect with that aspect of you that is not affected. Even if you are not succeeding so very well, the very attempt gives a little bit a different feel to the whole emotional. Immediately it's less important. Even if you feel I cannot really good conscious connect, but just attempting it makes the other more relative. And accept, all right, it may be a bit harsh, rough time I have to go through. I promise you, nothing is for nothing. All we are going through, all the strains, all the pains, we are also, without being aware, subtly accumulating something very precious, and eventually we are going to reap the fruit of that.
Yeah.
I cannot do a miracle that it is now just over. Just don't feel somehow that you do something wrong that this is happening. But just accept, all right, this is part of my life experience. I have to go through this period. And if we're not resisting immediately, it's easier to deal with it.
Yeah, I need to hear such things because sometimes it gets even more weirder, and I want to run away in some way.
Yeah.
And I know that is not good, and it is not what I should do. And yeah, I'm just where I'm at, and yeah, I thank you that you are there and encouraging me to kind of stay with it and deal with it in a healthy way rather than kind of doing some weird thing like maybe drinking or running away to Hawaii or
Yeah. Unfortunately, it will follow you.
yeah.
Don't worry, Lutz, it will pass. It will get easier.
Good. All things must pass.
Yes, it will pass.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Hario, Hario, wish you well. I come back to what I have been talking with Lutz. When I said to him, I really, sincerely, very honestly mean what I say. Nothing is for nothing. And when I look back in my life, there have been all kinds of difficult periods, but there was that period where really my reality crumbled down and I suffered hell. Before, from the jnana, I was saying it's all relative, it's not real, but when it really crumbled, I suffered hell, but I suffered hell. Why? Because I totally resisted. In spite of telling before, it's not real, but when somehow the reality, as an experience, the reality of it started to collapse because it didn't happen in a way that I expected or that was favorable to me as I felt then. there was the total resistance and there was the total suffering because of that. That suffering was self-created. And it went on and was getting worse and worse. And I really got nuttier and nuttier until somehow I started to feel, hey, it's not for nothing, it's not completely lost, it's somehow just something I have to go through. And then I learned to let go and resist less, and then I stopped resisting and just didn't have a clue what's going on. But I stopped resisting, and then it stopped being total terror all the time. It stopped being suffering all the time. There were still a lot of unpleasant things happening inside, outside. But when the resistance was gone, then it was much easier to deal with. And then eventually I came out and there a new experience emerged and peace came. And when I look back, that most turbulent phase in my life, that most painful phase, as long as that resistance was there, the most painful phase was the one phase that brought most of it. It's not for nothing that we are going through these things. You, as a spiritual being, are never really incarnated. You are pure and unaffected beyond time and space. And from there, that state, timeless, spaceless, a part of us is projecting into this magic show, into this time-space continuum. And we come totally aware that we are facing challenges. And in spite of that, we come full of enthusiasm into this world. Once the story starts, birth takes place, the whole rest, except in a few rare exceptions, the whole rest disappears and forgetting is there. We are not more aware of our divine nature and are identified with our little story. We know that it's going to happen, and yet still we do that projection because we know with all these confrontations there, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm outgrowing the need to do this kind of stuff again. But it makes perfectly sense. And many challenges will not be pleasant, have unpleasant side effects. Often it may be painful, but we can reduce that unpleasantness and that painfulness a lot by not struggling against it when things are not going the way we like them most. It's nothing is for nothing. Not a drop of all the tensions, the pains, the struggles we are going through is in vain. It's accumulating something beautiful. And once we are through it and see what it has done, then we may look back and think, great, I went through all this.